Right. So can I ask um Gwyneth to lead our opening prayer for this morning? Okay. Let's have Francesca.
Okay lang po, our Father, sir.
Yes, yes.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
And thank you so much, Francesca, for that prayer. So again, good morning, Saint Joseph and Saint Luke class. No? Um, this week class, you might have probably seen, no, the activity intended for this week. So this week we are going to tackle um, or to to discuss the third stage of SIP. Okay, nasa sa third stage of the SIP. So with that said, class, this third quarter, you will have or you have two PTs. Okay, performance task. Katong big PT, yung infographics, and we have here the SIP. So medyo tasky yung ating third quarter. So I hope you will be able to accomplish all those things, no? Ayan. So, okay na ba ang infographics? Who among you here have already finished or complete the infographics? Can I see a raise hand button? Yan sila, Vanjay. Who else? Wala pa? Wala pa ba nahuman? Sige daw, katong wala pa nahuman, can I see a raise hand button? Human na or wala pa? Ayan sila, Margo. Okay? So, I hope mahuman siya, no? Because that is 40% of your grade. So, without we call this one without any further chika, no, let us now have our discussion this morning. Okay, class, as part of our review, um who among you here can still recall what is our second stage? Diba, sa first stage of our SIP, we have discussed the empathize stage, right? You have been exposed to the different environmental factors that can affect environmental factors that can affect the you yourself and your family as well. Okay, we have here answers in the chat box, and Banjake, Angel, Francesca, Jan, no? All of you answered defining stage. So we've discussed about defining stage. So we only define the problem that we have chosen. So sa first stage class, you have been given different ideas. You have been exposed to the different environmental factors that exist globally, nationally, locally. From that stage, you proceed to the next stage, the defining stage. Defining stage enables you to select, no, or choose one environmental problem that you want to study and hopefully address that particular problem. So as part of our review, yan, stage 2, defining stage, I will be flashing some questions that you have encountered during this stage, and I'm asking you to respond to some of the questions that are going to appear on your screen. Okay? So first question is, what environmental problem that you want to study and state your reason why? Okay? What environmental problem that you want to study and why? You can unmute your microphone, class, if you want to, and I am encouraging you, no, to do that. And if your microphone is not working, you can just type your answers in the chat box. Question is, kung wala pa ta nakalimot sa ato ang environmental problem. So I hope you can still recall or remember the environmental problem that you have chosen during the second stage of SIP. Sige. What environmental problem that you want to study and why? Anyone? Okay, can I ask, sino ba? From Vanjay, water pollution, because this is his reason why he wanted to study water pollution, because it affects people and marine life. So, Vanjay is basically, what they call this one, is concerned, with people and marine life. So that is why he wanted to study water pollution so that he can come up with a certain idea that could address this problem. Thank you for that. So, who else? Sino pa? Okay, let me see your answers. Yan. How about Jacob? Can you still recall the environmental problem that you have chosen? Sa class? Francesca, Lawrence, Kisha, Jan, Rafael, Joshua, Michael, Efren, Daniel, Mark, Margo, Yurika, Lynette, Sina, Angel, Myrel, Alexander, and Santino. Okay, from Yuri, we have waste disposal. Why? Why do you want to study waste disposal? Lynette, littering because it also has a negative effects to our environment. Ayan. From Myrel, global warming. Why? Because it is rooted to many other environmental problems. So, kumbaga, global warming is one of the reasons, one of the root causes kung bakit na nag-i-exist, okay? Nag-i-exist yung mga ibang problem. Okay? Also, it is a problem for years and up until now, it is not yet solved. So, Myrel is basically hoping for, coming up with a viable solution that could address her problem. Francesca, climate change because it is concerning that the rapid changing of weather affects so much in our health and in environment. Ayan. From Sina naman, clogged canals because it's one of the reasons of infectious diseases and flooding, including pollution. So, if we have clogged canals, so there is a high rate or high possibility that we could be, infected by certain diseases. From Margo, I want to study about air pollution because it affects our health, no? If, especially if you have, lung, what we call this one, lungs problem. And so, from Alexander, deforestation. Ayan, so, consistent cutting of trees could increase the rate of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Because as you all know, trees are responsible for absorbing this greenhouse gas. So, pag walang trees, sino yung mag-absorb sa carbon dioxide? So, wala. Diba? So, in that case, that can increase the rate of global warming, no? Rate of carbon dioxide. Okay, thank you for that. Now, how this problem affect you and other people in your community? So, your answers here in the chat box already mentioned, no, how it affects you and other people in your community. For example, merong mga lung problem, okay? Your family might have, weak immune system. Yan. So, sige lang. How does this problem affect you and other people in your community? In what way, class? Short response lang. In what way? Ayan, from Van Jake, it spreads communicable diseases that is harmful. Okay? Ayan, that's one. You will be greatly affected no if you have a weak immune system. So that is why addressing certain problem is really important to discuss. Ayan, heightens mortality rate. Okay, from Sina. It is a threat to the health of the people. Right? So we have a lot of responses in the chat box. Okay, so this time class, one question na lang before I introduce to you to the next stage of our SIP. During the second stage class, did I ask you to provide a solution to solve the problem, the environmental problem that you have chosen? Okay, did I ask you to provide any solution para ma-address yung problema? Okay, di ba? Wala. So you, what you just did is, or was, you've just defined the problem. Okay, ano ba, what are the root causes of this problem? The graph or statistics that show the severeness of this problem, kung gaano na ba siya kalala. So yun lang siya. Define nyo lang yung problem. In this stage class, ID stage, you are expected na to come up with certain idea or certain solution that would help you addressing your environmental problem. Okay? Dito na stage where you are going to write viable solutions that could address or that could solve the environmental problem that you have selected. Okay? But before we dive in to the content of the ideate stage, let me just flash on your screen our objectives for this morning. At the end of this session class, you will be able to know the different parts of scientific method. Are you familiar with scientific method? If yes, kindly press the raise hand button. Ayan, so you are very well familiar with scientific method because as far as I'm correct, no? You have been exposed to scientific method when you were in grade 8 together with Miss Glidel, right? Si Miss Glidel ang teacher ninyo sa grade 7. Tama ba? Science. Yan. So, I think Miss Glidel has already introduced scientific method to you, no? The steps, the basic steps. So, I hope you can still remember or recall those concepts in scientific method. And you are going to formulate and identify the cause of a problem through the application of scientific method. So I will be giving you a chance later on to formulate a scientific method. Okay? Sige, I will just expound that one later on. And state ways on how to effectively respond to life problems. So as a person, as tao, we have our own problems. No? Dili ta tao kung wala tayo problema, basically. So, how are you going to apply scientific method to solve your life problems? Okay. Now, let me just reintroduce to you to the different steps of our SIP. Okay. First stage or first quarter, we have discussed the empathize stage. This stage class, you have been exposed to the different environmental problems that exist globally, nationally, locally. From this stage, you jump into defining stage. You were able to select or choose one environmental problem that you want to study and stated your reason why. And sa defining stage, nag-create kayo ng background search. Now, in ideate stage class, this stage now, you are expected to come up na with viable solution or output or machine that would help you addressing your problem. Ito naman sa prototype, I'm gonna discuss it later on. I'm gonna discuss it sa fourth quarter kasi ito yung last stage. And I'm gonna give you little glimpse, no, about ano yung prototyping later on. Okay? Now, what is ideate stage? In this stage, class, again, you are ready to generate ideas. Ready na mo mag-generate ng ideas. The solid knowledge that you have received from the first two stages of SIP will enable you to think outside the box. Think outside the box. You are expected to be creative, innovative in this stage. And you are going to look for alternative ways to view the problem. Now, this is the highlight, again, of ideate stage. You are going to identify innovative solutions to the environmental problem that you have chosen. Okay? All of these things, class, on your screen right now can be achieved or can be, what we call this one, can be attained through the help of scientific method. Okay, now, what is scientific method? Can you read it, please, Angel? What is scientific method? You have no mic? Wala kang microphone? Okay. Let's have Yurika Jane.
Scientific method is an approach to seeking knowledge that involves forming and testing a hypothesis.
Okay, thank you so much. Now, scientific method, class, it is a method, approach, or a strategy, no, to seeking knowledge that involves forming and testing a hypothesis. Now, you might be wondering, sir, what is hypothesis? Hypothesis, class, is educated guess or your partial answer to your question. Kumbaga, para mas masabtan nyo, hypothesis is something like mga hinala. Yung mga hinala ninyo ba? Okay? Kung hilig ka mag-overthink, di ba? When we overthink, we formulate mga hinala. Okay, that is something na siya, kumbaga, resemblance, hypothesis. Okay? Hypothesis, again, educated guess. Okay? Okay, let me reiterate. Now, scientific method involves forming hypothesis, mag-form ka ng mga hinala, and in order for you to test if your hypothesis or your mga hinala is correct or incorrect, you are going to test it through experiment. Okay? Form ka ng hypothesis, and in order for you to check if your hypothesis or your hinala is correct or incorrect, you are going to test it through experimentation. Then after experimentation, then you will know na if your hypothesis is correct or incorrect. Okay? Ayan, forming and testing. Now, please shift your attention on the left side of your screen, class. Itong illustration. These are the 6 basic steps of scientific method. Okay? First step of scientific method is it always starts with observation. True scientist is really observant on his surrounding. Okay? Again, scientific method always starts with observation. When you observe something on your surrounding, you formulate question. Okay? Gagawa ka ng question, class. From your question, you are going to formulate a hypothesis. Okay? Ito yung mga hinala mo. Right? Partial answer to your question. Okay. Now, in order for you to check if your hypothesis is correct or incorrect, you are going to conduct an experiment. Now, during the experiment, class, of course, you are expected to gather information or data. Mag-gather ka ng information, mag-gather ka ng data. And this information and data or statistics or graph, you are going to analyze it in the analysis step or part of scientific method. I-analyze mo yun siya. And in this stage class, analysis stage, you are expected na to tell yourself kung valid ba yung hypothesis mo or invalid, or correct ba siya or mali. Okay? If correct or mali, then you are going to write a conclusion. Okay? Sige, I'm gonna give you an example, ha? This might sound ridiculous to you, but I hope you can relate to this one. Sino ba dito yung merong friend, no? Na always kayo nag-chat every day? Okay? Who among you here that has this friend na always kayo nag-chat like every day? And there was this moment na nag-stop na siya og chat sa imong nag-stop na siya og paramdam sa imong. Isa ba dere? Can I see a hand? Like na kay friend, nag-chat mo every day, but there was this moment na nag-stop na siya og chat. Ayan, so a lot of you have already experienced that one, no? Now, okay, this is your observation. Right? This is your observation class. So every day kayo nag-chat, and there was this moment like almost a week na siya, hindi na siya nag-chat or nag-reach out sa iyo. So that is your observation. Okay? Wala na siya hindi na siya nag-chat sa akin. So that is your observation. Now, from that observation class, you are going to formulate a question. So anong question mo? It is something like this. Bakit kaya hindi na siya nag-chat? Okay? Bakit kaya hindi na siya nag-reach out sa akin? So that is your question. Question from your observation. Now, from question, you are going to formulate or build a hypothesis, mga hinala mo. Okay? For example, yung hypothesis mo is something like this. Kaya siguro hindi na siya nagchat-chat sa akin because meron na siyang bagong kaibigan. Okay? That is your hypothesis. That is your hinala. Okay? Yung reason kung bakit hindi na siya nagre-reach out, hindi na siya nagchat-chat sa akin because meron na siyang bagong kaibigan. Okay? That is your hypothesis or that is your hinala. Okay? Now, in order for you to check if your hypothesis is correct or incorrect, you are going to conduct a mini experiment. Now, what kind of experiment, sir? Then you are going to ask him or her, right? So you are going to ask him, or you are going to reach him out, okay? Reach out mo siya, and ask him the reason why kung bakit hindi na siya nagchat-chat. Okay? You are going to ask him or her, uy, I have observed or I have noticed na hindi ka na nagchat-chat sa akin. May I know the reason why? And that's the kind of experiment. So, then she is going to respond to your question. Hindi na ako nagchat-chat sa'yo for a couple of days because I have been, so busy these days. No, I have a lot of things to do. I have a lot of activities, no, to accomplish. So this has been a demanding week for me. So that is the reason why kung bakit hindi na ako nag-reach out sa iyo. Okay? So during the experiment class, you gather information. You gather data from his or her response. Okay? Then you are going to analyze it now. Okay? Imo siyang i-analyze. Kung tarong yung ano mo, yung response niya sa iyo. Now, during analysis, is your hypothesis correct or incorrect? Tama ba yung hinala mo na kaya hindi na siya nagchat-chat because meron na siyang bagong kaibigan? Okay, tama ba yung hinala mo or mali? Yes or no? Yan, from Lawrence, hindi. Mali. From Francesca. Yan, from Yuri also, mali po. Yan. How about the others? Nasundan ba ang example? Nakuha ba niyo, class? Yan, from Banjik, mali. Yan, yung reason is busy. Okay? So, there is no alignment between his response and your hypothesis. So, in conclusion, you are going to write, class. No, you are going to write a conclusion. So, anong klaseng conclusion? It might be something like this. Okay, the reason why he is not chatting me anymore is because he has been so busy these days, no? He has a lot of things to do. In conclusion, therefore, I conclude that my hypothesis is rejected or incorrect. Yan. If your hypothesis class is incorrect or rejected, the next thing that you are going to do is to rewrite your hypothesis. Okay? Babaguhin mo yung inyong hypothesis. And then you are going to conduct experiment again, analyze, then form conclusion. To simply put, scientific method is a never-ending process. A never-ending process. That means to say, mag-stop ka lang sa sa scientific method if the conclusion and hypothesis is aligned. Okay? Parehas na siya aligned. Yan, tugma na sila. Okay? Pero kung yung hypothesis mo is rejected or incorrect, ulitin mo yung hypothesis, mag-conduct again ng experiment, analyze them, so on and so forth. Alright, so I hope nakuha siya. Nakuha ba nato ang sample? If yes, kindly press the raise hand button. Ayan, thank you so much. Okay, so I have here another examples class just to, expound the scientific method. Okay. For example, sa house ninyo, sa home, you have here a toaster and coffee maker, right? Now, your observation is, for example, is this one. My toaster doesn't work. Okay? Hindi na gumagana yung toaster mo. That is your observation. My toaster doesn't work. Now, you are going to formulate a question out from your observation. So your question is something like this. Is something wrong with my electrical outlet? Meron kayang sira sa aking electrical outlet? So that is your question. Okay? From question class, you are going to formulate a hypothesis. So your hypothesis is something like this. There is something wrong with the outlet. Okay? Merong sira sa aking outlet. So that is your guess. Educated guess. Now, from hypothesis class, it conceives predictions. Okay? It allows you to generate prediction. So this is your prediction. If something is wrong with the outlet, my coffee maker also won't work when plugged into it. Okay? If merong sira sa aking outlet, that means to say, if I'm gonna plug my coffee maker, dapat hindi din siya gagana. So that is your prediction. Now, to test if your hypothesis and predictions are correct, you are going to conduct a mini experiment. Of course, your experiment is this one. You plug your coffee maker into the outlet. Isaksak mo yung coffee maker doon sa outlet. Now, the result is, my coffee maker works. Gumana man yung coffee maker. Now, in conclusion class, is our hypothesis correct or incorrect? Based on the result, no? Based on the analysis that you have done. Ayan, so, majority of you answered incorrect or mali. Okay? Kasi yung hypothesis mo, class, there is something wrong with outlet. And your prediction is, if merong sira sa aking outlet, that means to say, when I plug my coffee maker, dapat hindi din siya gagana. But the result says, your coffee maker works. That means to say, your hypothesis is rejected or incorrect. So, in conclusion, my electrical outlet works. But my toaster still won't toast my bread. That means to say, your hypothesis is incorrect. That means you are going to rewrite another hypothesis. Okay? You are going to change your hypothesis. Then conduct ka na naman ng experiment, gather result, analyze it, and write a conclusion. You are only going to stop class if yung hypothesis mo and conclusion is aligned. Okay? Tugma na sila. Okay? I hope it makes sense. Now, let us move on to our next example. Since we are dealing with environment in our SIP, so let us have an example na related sa ating environment. Okay, kindly help me out with this one, class. No, I need your help. Ayan, so let us for a while Ayan. Now, this is our observation. There is a prevalent flood in our community. Okay? There is a prevalent flood in our community. Ayan, for a while. Now, this is our observation. There is a prevalent flood in our community. Now, what might be our question, class? Sige daw, try to generate question based on our observation. Sige daw. You can put your answers in the chat box. Observation, there is a prevalent flood in our community. So, what might be our question in this example? Okay, try to generate. Simple question. Okay, what is the cause of the flood? Right? What else? That is from Van Jake. Sino pa? Try. From Myrel, where the canals clog. Okay. From Sina, what contributes to the cause of the flood? Right? So those responses of yours, class, no, from Van Jake, Myrel, and Sina. Pwede yan. It can be our question, no? Based on our observation. Let's just kumbaga combine, no, your questions and type something like this. Okay? So for example, no, based on your 3 questions, let's say, okay, why does my community experience frequent flood? Ayan, so that is your question. Okay? Bakit kaya yung aking community is always siya nag-flood? Okay, that is your question from your observation. Now, what might be our partial answer or educated guess to this question? Okay, what might be our hypothesis? Ano kaya sigurong reason kung bakit laging binabaha yung ating community in this example? From Myrel siguro, no, maybe clogged canals. Ayan. Deforestation. Umuulan ng malakas. Okay, from Lawrence. Ayan. So let's have first let's say clogged canals. Okay, pwede yung deforestation, and I will insert that deforestation later on. Okay, let's say our hypothesis is our community experiences frequent floods due to clogged canals. Now, you have here hypothesis. Ano gani? What's next to hypothesis, class? It conceives. Yung next to hypothesis. It conceives. It starts with letter P. It allows you to formulate what? Ito siya. Next to hypothesis. Ayan, so prediction. Okay, it allows you to build or to generate prediction. So if your prediction is something like this, if we clean the clogged canal and put natin S para dagdag. clogged canals, and we will not experience flooding in the next rainfall. Then my hypothesis is valid or validated or valid. Yan. So this is your hypothesis. Our community experiences frequent floods due to clogged canals. Now, if we clean the clogged canals and we will not experience flooding in the next rainfall, then my hypothesis is valid. Okay? That is our hypothesis and prediction. Now, how are we going to conduct the experiment, class? What type of experiment are we going to do? We are going to what? Okay, sige daw. We are going to, what are we going to do during the experiment? And exactly, from Lawrence and Francesca, we are going to clean the clogged canal. Okay, clean the clogged canal. That is our experiment. Okay? Now, pagdating sa result in analysis, for example, yung result. Okay, of course, we cannot really execute this one since considering our setup, no, this school year. So let's just say, no, let's just say na ito yung result. Okay, as if, right? We have there's flood after huge rain. Yan. So as if ito yung result. Okay? There is still flood after huge rain. Now, you are going to analyze the result. And yung hypothesis mo ba is valid or invalid? Correct ba siya or incorrect based on the result that you have gathered? Okay, from Lawrence, invalid. Do you agree with Lawrence? Okay, how about the others? Is our hypothesis correct or incorrect? Valid ba siya or invalid? Ayan, from Lawrence, Angel, Francesca, Gwyneth, we have invalid. Okay? Our hypothesis is incorrect or invalid based on the result that we have gathered. So, in conclusion, there is still flood whenever there is huge rain. Therefore, my hypothesis is invalid. Ayan. Although, yes, no, we can see na clogged canal can have this, impact when it comes to flooding. It can contribute, yes, no, it can contribute to flooding. In this example, maybe hindi lang clogged canal yung root cause kung bakit yung community experiences frequent floods. Maybe there is deforestation happening, no, in nearby areas. Merong cutting of trees. That might be the primary cause why this community experiences frequent flood. So you are going to reiterate, you are going to rewrite your hypothesis. Dili lang clogged canals, but you are going to also insert deforestation. Okay? Yan. Clogged canals and deforestation. These are the two, what do you call this one? Causes why this community experiences frequent flood. So, magkandak ka ulit ng experiment. No, what kind of experiment? Clean the clogged canals. At the same time, you are going to plant more trees. Yan. And then you are going to observe next rainfall, okay, next huge rain, and if magbaha pa gani siya or wala. I mean, that depends, no, on your result. So, that is how you write or you create scientific method. Okay? Do you have any questions or clarifications regarding scientific method? Yan, is everything clear naman? Sige daw, tayo daw mag-ask class, no? Okay, if there are no questions or clarifications, can I have a raise hand button from you? Okay, how about the others? Are you still there? Okay, thank you so much for your responding. Now, let us have the steps. Again, the steps of scientific method class. First is, it always starts with observation. Scientific observation is the central element of scientific method or process. The core skill of scientists is to make observation. Just like what I've said, class, just like what I've said, no, true scientist or excellent scientist is observant to its surrounding. So being alert with the changes. So observation consists of receiving knowledge of the outside world through our senses. So again, scientific method always starts with observation. You observe something from your environment or surrounding. Yan, example natin kanina about sa poster. Let's just skip this one. Now, out from your observation, you are going to write a question, no? You are going to formulate a question. In this step, you ask a question about something that you observe. You can start your question with how, what, when, who, which, why, or where. Okay? That is your question. Now, from that question, class, you are going to write your partial answer. Okay? Ano kaya yung possible na kumbaga, na reason kung bakit nag-exist itong problem na ito. Now, hypothesis is a potential answer to the question. One that can somehow be tested. That means to say, class, if you are going to write a hypothesis, make sure your hypothesis is or can be tested through experimentation. Pwede siya makonduct during experiment. Do not write hypothesis na almost surreal. Okay, that means, for example, your hypothesis is if moon and sun will collide, then there will be new planets that will be formed. Okay, that is your hypothesis. However, you cannot test that one. No? You cannot conduct that one during your experiment. To build hypothesis, class, that can be tested. That can be performed during experiment. Okay? I hope you get my point, no? A hypothesis is not necessarily the right explanation to the problem. That means, class, your hypothesis is either correct or incorrect. Okay? Pwede siya tama, and most especially, pwede din siya mali. That is one good qualification of a hypothesis. Do not write hypothesis na in the first place, alam mo nang tama. Okay? Do not write that one. Hypothesis is either correct or incorrect. Okay? Yan. Instead, it is a possible explanation that we can test to see if it is likely correct or if we need to make a new hypothesis. Now, these are the characteristics and qualities of good hypothesis, class. Okay? It must be simple, 1 to 2 sentences in length. Okay? Second is clarity. In choosing terms or words, no? Just make sure yung words or terms na pinili nyo is very easy to understand. Okay? Do not select a very complex masyado ng mga words. Third, testability. It can be tested. It can be performed during experiment. Fourth is relevant to the problem. Okay? There must be relevance. For example, your observation is all about air pollution, but your hypothesis is addressing or referring to another environmental problem let's say, climate change. No? So there is no coherence. There is no relevance. Imong observation is all about water pollution, but your hypothesis is referring to climate change. So there must be relevance class. Otherwise, that would be very difficult for you to in writing a scientific method. And please be specific. Okay? Yan siya. These are the characteristics and qualities of good hypothesis. Of course, your prediction, no? Prediction, most of the time, it starts with if. If I plug the toaster into a different outlet, then it will toast the bread. So if, not if. And experiment. To test the hypothesis, we need to perform an experiment associated with the prediction. And lastly, hindi pala last, no? Meron pa tayong analysis. So during experiment class, of course, you gather data, you gather information. So once your experiment is complete, you collect your measurements and analyze it. Then analyze them to see if they support your hypothesis or not. So this is the step of scientific method where you can tell to yourself if your hypothesis is valid or invalid. And lastly, the conclusion. Create your conclusion on the basis of data or information gathered in your experiment. Of course, please, your conclusion must be based on the data, okay, or information that you have gathered during the analysis or resulting part. For example, imuhang analysis is mali man ang hypothesis, but in your conclusion, you write, my hypothesis is valid or correct. So, dapat yung conclusion mo must be based on the data and information that you have gathered during the result/analysis part. So, it could be your conclusion is hypothesis is supported or hypothesis is not supported. Either of the two. Okay? If yung hypothesis mo is supported, then good. If your hypothesis is not supported, then change your hypothesis. Again, conduct experiment, gather result, or analyze them. Yeah, so, never-ending process. Okay? So, before we proceed to our activity class, what we call this one? Can I ask someone to at least enumerate the 6 basic parts of scientific method? Sige daw, who among you here can enumerate the 6 basic parts of scientific method? Okay, starts with observation from John Rafael. Next. Limta na? Dali araw. Hypothesis. From Eureka, we have question, hypothesis. What's next to hypothesis? Prediction from Sina. Okay. Yes. Next to prediction, you are going to conduct an experiment to check if your hypothesis and prediction is correct or incorrect. Then after experiment, you are going to analyze the result, right? From Yuri. And lastly, you are going to draw conclusion. Okay, those are the basic steps of scientific method. Alright? Now, for our activity class, I have just realized, no, na combination pala ito ng St. Joseph and St. Luke. So, I have decided to change some of the mechanics. So, you will be divided into 2 groups. St. Luke and St. Joseph. Okay? St. Luke and St. Joseph. And if you are going to complete this one class, I'm gonna give additional points sa inyong SIP since medyo mabigat kasi yung ating performance task this quarter. So it would be better if I'm gonna give you additional points, no, sa inyong PT or performance task. Each group, each section, should I say, leader, select a leader, editor, other members shall contribute to their respective groups. Leader or secretary of the group, please write those members na naigi-contribute. Okay? Kaya dito ko mag-base in giving you additional points. Right? Now, this is your task class. Each group will think. Okay, yeah. Each group will think of two environmental problems that they have observed in their community. Okay, dalawang environmental problem. Ha? And my advice, class, is if you are going to select or choose environmental problem, make sure that is a minor problem. Do not select major ones, such as global warming, climate change, because those major problems require major solution. So, my advice is select minor ones. Littering, clogged canals, flood, what else? Water pollution, no? It could be. Ano pa ba? So, I just try to search no, some minor environmental problems. Then, out from your observation, you are going to generate a question, build a hypothesis, and you are going to list the steps on how you are going to conduct the experiment along with the materials needed during the experiment. List, then, of course, if you are going to perform an experiment, then, of course, you have or you need materials, no, that will help you addressing or what you call this one, conduct an experiment. And write the result and conclusion from the conducted experiment. So, sir, how can we identify the result, no? Since we cannot really perform the experiment. Again, just like what I've said, as if lang ito siya. Okay? Kamu na'y bahala kung what kind of result yung isulat ninyo. As if lang. Okay? Kuntahay lang. Right? So, write the result and conclusion from the conducted experiment, and each one of you will be given 20 minutes to complete the scientific method and 2 minutes to present your work. However, class, you will not be able to present your work na since meron pa kong i-discuss, no? I-discuss ko pa yung content ng inyong activity this week, yung tinatawag nating project proposal. So, yan, mga 11:45 or 11:40, balik na kayo sa meeting room para ma-discuss pa natin yun siya. Okay? Then, you will be working, of course, with this task, no? After my session. Deadline 11:59 p.m. this day or today. 11:59 p.m. Okay? Sige. If Saint Joseph ka, kindly press your raise hand button. Saint Joseph. Saint Joseph. Okay, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Mas daghan din ang Saint Luke. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay? So, anyway, that would not be a problem. Alright, so, I'm gonna send you the link, class. Okay? And then, please click the link of your section. And then, this mechanics, I will send this one in our GC. And click the link of your group. Right? You may start working class. Okay, again, two environmental problems. Two. And by 11:40 class ha, please go back to the main room. 11:40. Finish or not finish? I have already sent the mechanics in our GC, both St. Joseph and St. Luke. So kindly visit our GC na lang. Thank you. If na question, please do raise your hand. Magpaano tang pa-giveaway tag points no, for your SIP. Okay, pakisulat sa mga nag-contribute. Thank you. Two. Gwyneth will be your leader. St. Joseph. Can I ask class to share your screen so that I can also see your progress? Thank you. Can someone share their screen? It's 11:40 a.m. So kindly go back now to our main room. Again, it is already 11:40 a.m. Kindly go back to the main room. Okay, thank you so much. Again, deadline 11:59 p.m. Okay, sige, thank you. Right. So again, class, the deadline of that activity would be later on at 11:59 p.m. So I hope you will be able to finish that one, no, this day. So ayan, okay. This time, class, I'm gonna show to you the content of our SIP this week. So some of you might have already seen the project proposal. Some of you have not yet opened it, but this is the content of our SIP this week. Okay, on your screen right now, class, is we have here the project proposal. Okay, and project proposal is okay for a while. I mean, in making project proposal, class, we still follow the steps in scientific method. Okay. However, we have omitted or removed some of the steps and inserted certain steps, since we cannot really conduct or perform the experiment considering the situation that we are currently in. So technically, we are more on planning. Okay, plano lang tayo. More on planning, more on written output. Okay, like what outcome do we expect after making and employing this machine to solve my environmental concern? Would it solve my environmental concern or not? Okay. And for project proposal, class, again, it always starts with observation. Write your observation about the environmental problem that you want to study. Okay. There are cases na some students have already forgot, no, their environmental problem. Now, if that is the case, you can message me, can ask me kung ano yung environmental problem na pinili ninyo during the second quarter, kasi hindi nyo na yun siya ma-access kasi nga I have already unpublished the folder. So, pwede ko nyo i-message. Right? For LKs naman, then revisit your LKs during second quarter. Right? So, there must be, ano kasi yan, alignment kasi yan, class. Okay? If yung pinili mo is water pollution, then your project proposal must be pertaining to project water pollution, and your prototype must address water pollution. Question. Okay, create a question based from your observation. Hypothesis. State the partial answer to your questions. Later on, class, I will be showing an example, no, on how to write a project proposal. Now, this is the, kumbaga, new, no? Wala siya na-introduce earlier sa ating scientific method. In project proposal, class, you are going to write objectives. Objectives, these are the things, these are the output that you are expecting, okay? After the overall conduction, or after the overall experiment, no? Yan, objectives. For example, before I start my discussion, I always ensure that I am posting my objectives. So these are the things that you are expected to possess, you are expected to learn after the session. Now, in conducting the class, or in making, no, the machine or the prototype that you are going to have, of course, you have the materials. Kailangan mo ng mga materials. So, That is why, ngayon pa lang, dapat na visualize na ninyo kung anong type of machine, anong type of prototype yung gawin ninyo. That would help you in addressing your environmental problem. Okay? Yan siya. And in this area, how will you conduct the experiment? You are going to list the steps on how you are going to conduct the experiment. And then project plan. What is your expected output? You are going to describe your output class. Okay? Along with the description of the prototype. And here's a timetable. Dito, date. Yan. For example, March 5 at 9 a.m. Dito sa time. This is what I'm gonna do. Write my project proposal. Next day naman, March 6 at 11 a.m. Okay? Ano yung task na gawin mo? Dito mo siya ilagay. So, there was one student who asked me kung pwede ba daw hindi siya mapuno itong timetable. Yes, pwede yan siya. Okay? So, I'm gonna have the example now. Okay, this is the example class. So, I want you to focus on this example. Anyway, I will be sending this one to you, man. Okay, so that you have a guide. So, again, ideation stage or ideate stage tayo ngayon na quarter. And our objective after this stage is suggest alternative solution on how to minimize the impact of problem to the community. Now, ito yung gina-refer namin class, no? When we talk about prototype. It is a machine. It is a blueprint of your machine. Okay? Some of you, before, sa grade 7, nag-propose kayo, your prototype might be, for example, signage na nagsasabi na bawal magtapon ng basura dito. That is your prototype. That might be your prototype before. Another is, yung prototype nila is mag-propose sila na mag-conduct ng what we call this one, general cleaning. Ayan. Magwalis-walis sila sa daan. Pulutin yung mga basura. Okay? Those ways class can help you, of course, solving the environmental problem that you have chosen. However, we are asking something different. Okay, something like this class. Okay, something, a machine. Okay, this is the prototype. One example of prototype that we are looking for. Ito siya. Sewer trash picker machine. Now, this is the work of former grade 10 student, si Wayne Goodmalin. Ito yata yung nanalo last school year. Yan. Another example of prototype. Yan, rotary screening, wastewater, and garbage collector. Okay? So these are the types or some examples of prototype class. Not those signage na nagsasabing bawal magtapon ng basura dito or manilhig lang sa dalan. No, makatabang, yes, it can help, but we are asking something like this. Okay? Yan. I hope klaro siya, no? But you are going to have this one. Ito siya. I-draw ba ninyo siya or you're gonna use editing tools. It's up to you. And submit this one sa 4th quarter na. Last stage ng ating SIP. The focus of our SIP this stage is writing about project proposal. Now, this is the example of project proposal class. Observation. So, ito yung observation ni Wayne Goodmalin. In the Philippines, more than hundreds or thousands in a barangay or in a community experience flood because of water overflowing from the drainage. And flood is undoubtedly the main worry during the rainy season. So basically, his chosen problem is all about flood. So it has been a continuous struggle for years to come. The researchers' barangay is of no exception. They have noticed, class, they have noticed, they have observed that as time goes by, even a light rain that will last for about 20 minutes is enough to cause flood, creating chaos as people struggle to evacuate their things. So these are his observations. Okay? Yung pinili niya na environmental problem is about flooding. Now, from observation, he created 3 questions. Okay? First question niya, class, is, why does light rain enough to generate a flood in the researchers' rapidly increasing community? Bakit daw, kahit konting ulan lang, is meron ng flood? That is his first question. Second question, how can the humanity help lessen the possibilities of encountering flood in the environment? In what way yung mga tao na naninirahan doon sa community help lessen the possibilities of encountering flood in the environment? In what way? So that is his second question. Third question is, he is now referring to the machine, class, yung kanina. Okay, that is his question. Third question. He is now pertaining or referring to the machine. Basaha. What is a practical, useful, and beneficial product that will pick up trashes before they clog waterways? Okay, that is his third question. He is now referring to the machine. Each question, class, each question, he provided one hypothesis. Now, basahin natin ulit yung first question. Why does light rain enough to generate a flood in the researchers' rapidly increasing community? Now, this is the hypothesis. As the community's population grows, so does the amount of waste produced. Water cannot flow effectively because trashes are brought to streams and clogs them. As a result, even a light rain can generate a flood. So that is his partial answer. Bakit konting ulan, baha agad? It is because he suspected, no, as the population grows, then magtaas din yung rate ng ating waste. So in that case, trashes are brought to stream and clogs them, bara. So that is his first hypothesis for the first question. Second question, how can the humanity help lessen the possibilities of encountering flood in the environment? Humanity can lessen the flood by throwing their trashes in the right places. People can also segregate their trash. New machinery, yung prototype natin, can also be introduced to pick the trash left along the streets. Third question, what is a practical, useful, and beneficial product that will pick up trashes before they clog waterways? Hypothesis, the researchers have formulated a product that will pick up trashes before they clog waterways. This product is called the sewer trash picker machine. Okay? Each question, he provided one hypothesis. Now, these are his objectives. First, ito yung in-expect niya after the overall, what do you call this one, experiment, to minimize the percentage of wastes that clog waterways. Second, to address the environmental issue of water pollution in waterway channels, particularly flooding. And lastly, to reduce some prevalent health problems that arise from the polluted water in order to maintain the proper health of every individual in the community. Okay? These are his objectives. Now, just like what I've mentioned, class, a while ago, ngayon pa lang, you must have, vivid visualization about your prototype or machine, no, that you are going to draw or edit somehow, that would help you addressing the problem that you have chosen. So in that case, pag ma-visualize nyo siya, then you can write now the materials you need in order to build that prototype or to build that machine. For example, is we have here mechanical gearbox, mechanical drive chain, mechanical sprocket, and so on and so forth. And then, ito siya, hindi ito siya na-edit. Kindly discard this one. Kasi Miss Anna wasn't able to edit this one. But in this step class, no, steps in conducting the experiment, you are going to write the steps on how you are going to, we call this one, on how are you going to conduct the experiment. Okay, I hope, and I lost my connection for a moment. Ayan, so project plan, ito ganito siya, you are going to describe your output. Now, let us read, no, the project plan, project proposal of Gwyn. The researchers' expected output for this experiment is an innovation called rotary screening machine and garbage collector with filter. Through the use of this innovation, they can successfully help reduce the effect of water pollution in a community and as a whole. He is describing the output. This innovation has three phases or processes for the water to be truly filtered. First, the collection of garbage and wastewater from factories and households. Second, the filtering and screening of the wastewater to be purified through the help of these filtering materials such as filter foams and gravel. Last, it would be the completing step for innovation, which is the flowing of treated water back to the ocean. So basically, he was just describing, the steps and the output for the machine. In summary, the expected purpose and output of this innovation are to provide a filtered water and a safe environment in every household, away from different bacteria causing diseases, especially the habitat of different marine lives in the ocean water. Also, this innovation is expected to be durable, affordable, and eco-friendly. So after that one, meron pa isa, yung timetable, and merong date, merong time, and the specific task that you are going to do in that particular day. Okay? Questions or clarifications, class? Do you have any questions or clarifications regarding a project proposal? Wala ang experiment, result, and conclusion. Yes, just like what I've said, no? Merong experiment class. Merong experiment. Ano lang siya dito, kumbaga, iniba lang yung, kumbaga, name, no? Let me go back. Yan. For example, dito siya. Yan. Steps in conducting the experiment. So, you are going to write the steps on how you are going to conduct the experiment. Okay? Yung result and conclusion naman, class, ito yung mga gina-expect mo, okay, na result and conclusion. Yung gina-expect mo. Of course, we cannot really perform, no, the experiment kasi nga, the situation that we are currently in, dili ka pwedeng pagawas-gawas, maskin asa, and so on and so forth. So, just like what I said, more on planning. Okay, planning. Kaya sa tinawag na project plan. Ito yung mga balak mong gawin. Okay? Can we find alternative experiment rather than doing it in the community plans? Ano to siya? Sa activity kanina? Sina? Dito? Yan. Okay. Yes, pwede naman siya. It depends on you on how you are going to conduct the experiment. And it depends on. Okay. Yan ha, just like what I've said, class, ngayon pa lang, you should have this extreme visualization about your prototype that you are going to have. No? Prototype or machine. Meron pa ba? Okay, it's already 12 p.m. na pala. Okay, if there are no questions and clarifications, can I see a raise hand button from you? Kindly click the raise hand button if there are no questions and clarifications. Ayan, thank you so much. Right? So if meron mag-arise na question, class, please feel free to message me, no? So that I can help you in writing project proposal or project plan. Okay, so I guess we're all good in this session. Let's have our closing prayer now so that you can eat your lunch. Okay, so let me just take a screenshot. Okay, all together in the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, amen. Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. So goodbye, class, and thank you so much. See you next week for another topic under biology. Okay, thank you, thank you.
Bye.